Ladies, gentlemen, my name is Mangs, and I have a question for you guys. Are you ready for another Advanced Wars tournament saga? Because you're gonna get it. I have entered the Glenstorm Cup, an Advanced Wars tournament focused on high funds matches. That means you get 2,000 income instead of the normal 1,000. Last time I entered a tournament in the Quack Cup, I actually got all the way to the finals. And I actually got to the part where you have to play a round robin against the 4 other contestants. And I was so close. I was so close to getting the trophy, but I underestimated my opponent. I will not make that same mistake again. This time around, we're keeping racer focused throughout the entire tournament. Now, the competition is going to be a lot fiercer in this one, because last time I was in the 2nd division, now I'm in the 1st, because I'm higher rated this time. And there are some absolutely terrifying opponents in my brackets. We got the legendary LVGD, or however you pronounce it. We got Jaytaquan, we got Shiu. There's some absolute monsters in my division. And I'm not saying I think I have a chance against them, but it's high funds, so, you know, upsets are always a little bit easier in high funds because it's a more chaotic matchup. A lot of things can happen. I think I'm a little bit better in high funds than I am in standard personally. And my opponent in the first round of this tournament is called Mr. Mumu. I've seen this guy before. I think he was in the Egg Cup. He's around 1150, a little bit below me in rating at the moment because I'm at 1200 now. But I wasn't going to take my opponent lightly just because he is slightly lower rated than me. I went into this match with a lot of training. I think I played like 4 practice games on this first map right here. The map is called Falcon Field, and it is an absolutely wild map. Now, before we talk about that, I'm just going to go over the CO selection real quick. This was a tier 4 match. Not standard. Gotta have to bring up the high funds list. So there we go. This was a tier 4 high funds match, but they banned Adder, as they tend to do, because Adder is by far the best pick in a high funds tier 4 mixed base map. Like, there's no competition. If you pick anything but Adder, you're doing it wrong. So, of course, what happens when you ban Adder? Well, you get Adder Light. So I wasn't very surprised to see that this was a cold mirror match. There are some other viable picks on this map. I think Lash can maybe be used, and Jake maybe, but you can't really go wrong with the extra movement. And even though Cole is Adder Light is still better than other COs on this map. And there are actually some roads here, as you can see. Actually quite a few roads. So it's not that Cole won't actually get his road bonuses, but it's the movement is the reason why you're picking him. But if you take a look at this map right here, it's a wild map. It's almost like 4 matches in one. You have a little game here, you have a little game here, a little game here, and a little game here. Like a little 1 versus 1, basically, with 1 base on each side, except that the bottom player gets airports and the top player gets airports here. So this is basically my my strong side. This is my opponent's strong side. So you have strong side versus weak side. But what really matters in this particular battle is the center island, because you may notice there are 2 labs here and no other HQs, which means that the labs become the HQ. So if you take over the lab, you win. Now, there is a neutral lab that you can capture, which grants you, I guess it kind of gives you 1 extra life, so to say. But what I found after practicing previously in this match is that, you know, these engagements here, they don't really matter that much. Like, sure, you need the properties and whatnot, but it's not here that the match will be won. Here is where the match will be won. Whoever can take control of the center island will win, because they'll eventually get the labs. So you do start with 2 black boats, 1 on harbor, and then 1 more on your lab. You can opt to move the black boat off your lab, but it will be more vulnerable if you do that, but you'll get an extra transport unit. Whereas this one you can use freely to transport units into the center. So it kind of becomes a bit of a weird game of how many units do you want to bring into the center island versus how much do you want to try and win on the in the corners here. So it's a very interesting map, but again, I pretty much found that this devolves into a lab rush pretty much every single time, so you might as well just focus hard on it. You also have harbors right here, which will be very important in the match later on. I'll let you guys know what I mean in a little bit. But yeah, I figured let's just jump into the match, shall we? So, again, to begin with, I have to capture these 2 neutral bases here. This is because I am player 1. And I immediately go move my black boat over here to fetch my infantry. I'm going to probably capture the building on the first turn, but I'm going to build the second infantry and send the infantry over to the island right away. So a lot of capturing needs to be done early on here before either player can actually start fighting. This map had a very long capture phase, even though it's a mixed phase high funds map, which is like one of the most chaotic matches ever that gets started incredibly quickly. I found that it actually took a little while for this map to get going. So here, my opponent actually does not, Mr. Mumu, he does not send his infantry over to the island. He actually sends his infantry down here to capture these properties, which I think is a mistake. I think the second infantry that you build on this map should go into the center island immediately. You want to get these properties quickly. So, but Mr. Momo decided he wanted to grab the contested properties in the corners instead. So here I'm already bringing my black boat off the lab because I see that he does this and I'm like, okay, I'm just going to rush to center island. So I immediately send one of my infantry into the center right here. And from here I can go for the harbor, I can go for both the properties. And in any kind of Advanced Wars matches where you were fighting over island control, whoever can get the initiative in that regard and get infantry onto the island first, they usually win. Because at some point you can block shoals with your infantry to prevent the enemy from landing more infantry down there. So here my opponent actually decides to send both of his infantry. So he's actually, yeah, see, he's actually building 2 infantry and sending into the island right here. So he's seeing that I'm going in and he doesn't want to just give me the island. So he's smart here. He still doesn't bring this black boat away though. He prefers to keep the black boat on the lab, whereas I am using my lab black boat to transport more units in. Which allows me to match his infantry numbers in the center here, 2 versus 2. And here I'm going for the harbor because I have some plans. Capturing both my airports. As day 4 rolls in, my opponent also captures both of his airports. And the capture phase in the corners continues as normal. He's now bringing his black boat from this side over here, which I found a little bit odd. He really doesn't want to use his lab black boat. He wants to keep it around. And he opens up 2 tanks on his weak side. Sorry, on his strong side. So 2 tanks on his strong side, probably to try and pressure these infantry right here, since I'm to try and prevent me from transporting more units over to the island. But I finish up capping the harbor this turn, and you can see that we have a lot of income already, 32,000 income. This map, a lot of properties, so you're gonna see income in like the 50k ranges, which is pretty sick. But yeah, I built 2 battlecopters immediately because battlecopters are actually pretty good on this map. Of course, your opponent can build anti-air, which is expected, but what I like to do is I like to send the battlecopters around and actually send them to the island. Because once you get a battlecopter presence on the island, it's pretty much GG for your opponent, because he'll need to build like a lander to transport anti-air to the island. He can always build fighters and try to send them over here. But if you already have battlecopters on the island, it's going to be very, very hard for him to do anything about that. But he's sending more infantry. I was kind of surprised he didn't put the infantry here, but I mean, I would have to interrupt my own cap to interrupt that, so I was kind of expecting him to do that. He goes 2 anti-air immediately to counter my 2 battlecopters, but I'm fine with that, because these 2 battlecopters, I plan to send them around over to the island, so I don't really care if he builds anti-air. In fact, that's kind of a win for me. So day 6 rolls in, I finish capping some more properties, and again, using both my black boats to transport ever more infantry. 2 tanks and an anti-air. Sending in my battlecopter here, just dancing outside of his anti-air range. Doing the same thing here. I don't want to let him get the comm tower, so I'm keeping my battlecopter in the area. And here I'm like, okay, I'm just going to go capture this property. I mean, he can, of course, interrupt it if he wants to. He has a black boat here. But I have a larger infantry presence than him on this island at the moment, so I'm okay with him attacking me first. So you're going to see that these 2 anti-airs won't really end up doing a whole lot, because again, I'm not planning for the battlecopters to hang around. And of course, I got to be a little bit careful. He's sending battlecopters and tanks down on the northeastern front as well. So, But he's actually just letting me have this property, which I think is a little bit of a mistake. I think he should have been a little bit more aggressive here. He's still not using his lab black boat to transport units. He's kind of letting it sit there. Building 2 more battlecopters. So he's building a lot of battlecopters right now. So my turn rolls in. I finish capping a bunch of properties. Now my income is at 42,000, which is pretty crazy. And you can see what I'm doing right here with my battlecopters. I'm just sending them into the ocean, and now it's threatening the island. And now I'm feeling confident to go and capture the lab in the center to grant me that extra life. Now I am kind of scared here because he has built 2 battlecopters and 2 tanks, so I'm building a lot of forces here to protect myself. But you can already see that I have some plans here going for the black boat on his lab, so that is what I'm focused on right now. Now again, don't want to let him get the comm tower. I'm moving my battlecopter in here and planning it to moving into the island next turn. Now here he's bringing over 2 more infantry with his black boat, but he's playing very passively, and he's also kind of messed up his shoal control here, so he can only really unload 1 infantry, which I think is a little bit of a mistake. Here he decides to get very aggressive and attack right into my base, which I thought was a little bit interesting. He kills my infantry, but at this point, I think you guys know what is coming my way. So it seems like he is completely oblivious to it. So again, these 2 anti-air, not really doing a whole lot, because again, my battlecopters are not meant for this area. They're meant for the center island, so that's why I love building battlecopters and just circumventing the anti-air right here. So day 8 comes in, and let me see. Do you guys know what I'm going to do now? I mean, it should be pretty obvious if you've been paying attention to the center island. So first things first, I interrupt the comm tower, and then now both of my battlecopters have reached the center island. And his battlecopters are stuck fighting me here, so they're not going to be able to reinforce. I don't really know why he attacked there. It seemed like a weird thing to do. But here it comes, ladies and gentlemen. Look at this. Look at the positioning of this harbor. Battleship immediately threatens the lab. And this was the first thing I noticed when I started playing this map was, ooh, that's a sussy harbor location right there, because 1 battleship immediately targets the black boat. So if you don't capture this lab, then it's only a matter of time until your lab is exposed. So the battleship, and the battleship threatens more than just the black boat. It also threatens a pretty big area of this island right here. And now, since the battleship is here, I'm going all out aggressive with my infantry right here. And now the battlecopters have arrived. And now my opponent is in serious trouble, because it's only a matter of time until that black boat is dead. And I have several infantry threatening him. And he doesn't have a single battlecopter in range to threaten me over here. So at this point, my opponent has, I think he has one response to this, and that is to build a battleship of his own. But he decides to go for my anti-air, probably wanting to circumvent with this battlecopter, but for some reason he sticks around and attacks my units on the corner, which, again, it doesn't, like, yeah, this is a scary attack, but it doesn't matter because it's all about the center island. So my opponent definitely not, I don't think he practiced that much for this map, because it doesn't matter if you win here. This is where the battle needs to be fought. But he can still salvage this if he decides to attack with his infantry. He needed to build a battleship this turn. And this kind of sealed his fate. Because this is what he needed. Like, a battleship was the only thing. What is this anti-air gonna do? It can't do anything. Like, my battlecopters are not coming back. So yeah, he's building a bomber, he's building more battlecopters, but it's too late at this point, because now his lab is being threatened. So day 9 rolls in, boom, I attack the black boat, battlecopter, boom, and I don't think there is anything he can do to interrupt this. I spent a lot of time in Move Planner looking at this position. I even pop a forced march because why not? And I actually delete every single one of my units because I don't want to give him power charge. And then I build 4 missiles. Hey, no one ever said I had to be well-mannered in a tournament, okay? Look, you gotta win, you gotta win. You might as well win with style, okay? Some may call this BM. I call it winning with style. So yeah, a bit of a short match, but a very enjoyable one. Again, this map, I like it. It's a fun map, but it's also kind of gimmicky because it really is just all about racing the center. These corner matchups right here, they don't really matter that much. They're kind of just like a little distraction. It's all about the center, really. And my opponent did not recognize this in time. So yeah, it looks like I'll be going on to round 2, where I will be facing Izanagi 007, who is a very strong opponent. Stay tuned for that, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you guys enjoyed this tournament match. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.